Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the Rating show after the 1-1 draw away to West Brom. A draw that to me puts paid really if we were in a title race, if we were challenging for the championship. It puts paid to our championship challenge, I'm afraid. I wasn't convinced that we were in that sort of vein really, that we could challenge City for the title. I think we've handed it to them on a plate draw in the last couple of weeks really, getting beat by Sheffield United at Old Trafford and then drawing with West Brom, two of the bottom teams, obviously the bottom three teams. Looking at recent results, it is a bit concerning. Since we beat Liverpool in the Cup, we've not too bad a result drawing at Arsenal, but we've drawn with Arsenal, we've drawn with Everton, we've drawn with West Brom, we've got beat by Sheffield United, we have beaten West Ham in the Cup in extra time. It might seem a bit churlish, but if we did take extra time to beat them. If that was a 90-minute game, that would have been, obviously you can put pressure on near the end if you know it's not going to extra time. I know it's different if it's a league game, but it's still another game that we couldn't win within the 90 minutes, which would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our last 6 games we haven't managed to win within 90 minutes. One of which went to extra time, and we did eventually win it. And the only game we have won in our last 6 games, apart from the West Ham game in extra time, is the Southampton game. And okay, it was 9-0, that's fantastic, of course it is. But come on, let's be honest. Southampton were really badly depleted. We probably would have won that game even if they didn't get a man sent off. But getting a man sent off after about 90 seconds like they did, it'd have been a disgrace if we wouldn't have won that game. In fact, I put a tweet out sort of saying it's a little bit like playing your under-19s in a training session and then including it in your form guide, because it really was a walkover, that game. So that, to win within 90 minutes, that's the only game we've won in our last 6, and that's a bit concerning. We've got a Europa League game coming up this week. I don't think we can take it for granted that we're going to be in the top 4. As recently as probably 3 weeks ago, I would have said that we were automatically going to finish in the top 4. Don't think we can take that for granted if we want to be in the Champions League next season. Obviously, we've still got a great chance of finishing in the top 4, but we're in the doldrums at the minute. We've really got to snap out of it. So if we don't snap out of this, we might need that Europa League in order to be in the Champions League next season. Obviously, we want to be in the Champions League. Your form can change, and obviously in a cup, if you can get through the group stages, you've got a chance in a knockout tournament. I always say that. So obviously you need a little bit of the luck of the draw, but you can't win it if you're not in it. And I want us to be in that Champions League. I know I hear some fans saying, we're not here for the money. We don't want the money in the club. We just want the club to do well. But as far as I'm concerned, I want to be in the Champions League so I have a chance of winning it. You often hear Liverpool fans sort of saying they've won it. I've actually forgot, is it 6 times they've won it now and we've won it 3 times? So if we could win it, we'd be edging a little bit nearer to that, and I'd love that to happen. I'm not saying it could happen, I'm not saying it would happen by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're not in it, you can't win it. It's as simple as that. So I'm desperate for us to either finish in the top 4 or win the Europa League. I don't think we can win we can't win the league now, but we need to be in the top 4, and the way the form is at the minute, you don't know when it's going to swing round. We need really to make sure we're still in that Europa League in the next round. So talking about the form, obviously it was a poor show at the Hawthorns at the weekend, and we got off to a terrible start. And this is the Manchester Evening News ratings that I'm going to use to say what I think about their ratings. David De Gea, they've given him an 8, and they've said rooted to his line for Diagne's, however you pronounce his name, apologies for that, Mbaye Diagne, his goal, but then denied the striker as well. Magnificent goalkeeping to thwart Diagne twice in as many seconds, that's true. I wouldn't give him, and two really good saves. I won't give him an 8 though. I think a 7's good enough. You know, a seven is good, and I don't think he had much chance with the goal. I really don't. The defence was right on top of him. He couldn't come out and claim it. He was swung in pretty quickly. Defenders mauling, we'll come to Lindelof and that in a minute, but the defenders mauling Lindelof all over the place, and De Gea can't come out and get involved in that. And then once he heads it from such close range, if he would have saved it, it would have been a brilliant save. So I think just to say that De Gea, you know, I always say a keeper's done his job if he keeps a clean sheet, and if we let one in and there's not much he can do about it, that doesn't make much difference either to me. So I think a 7. I would just say he played well enough, David De Gea. There was one particularly poor kick out, by the way, that should have been better, but I'd give him a 7. Wan-Bissaka, the Evening News have given him a 6. Got into good crossing positions, but often failed to find a teammate. Crucially, defended well at the far post. They've given him a 6, which is a decent game. I think I would agree with that. I would go with a 6. I'd agree with that for Wan-Bissaka. Victor Lindelof, I think they've been a little bit harsh. Lindelof was so weak in failing to outmuscle Diagne that he made it look more like a foul. Off the pace throughout again. I don't know why he's saying that throughout again. And I say this every week. You know, when they say again, you know, they're bringing, whoever the writer is bringing his own thoughts, his own decision is sort of half made for him because how he thinks a player's playing. You know, I know I've done it a couple of times myself and I've apologised when I've done it, but you know, to mention what he thinks he's been playing like recently, to me it smacks of he's waiting for that to happen again, and he's not really going to give him a fair crack of the whip, if you like. So I think to say he was off the pace throughout the game is harsh. In the least, it's harsh, and so weak in failing to outmuscle Diagne, he made it look more like a foul. Look, it was a foul. I don't care what anybody says. You know, imagine you've got your eyes on the ball, and you're going to go forward to try and head that ball, and suddenly you get that, and that defender giving that. Now, I'm not saying that pre-VAR days a referee would necessarily have spotted that, and the referee, you know, it might well have always been given that goal, or 9 times out of 10 it probably would have been given in the old days. But I don't know what the VAR people are there for. I really don't. If that is not a foul, putting the full palm of your hand in somebody's face while this is what happened. Tell me in the comments if you think something different happened. Putting the full palm of your hand into somebody's face while he's going to try to head the ball. If that's not a foul, I don't know what is. So I think it was a foul. Maybe did he get out muscled? Once you've got that hand in your face and you're fighting against it, I don't know. I think it's a bit harsh, I really do. But it should have been disallowed, but it wasn't disallowed, and the rest is history. So I think a 4 is poor. I always say this as well, and I cut everybody the same amount of slack. 1 or 2 poor mistakes doesn't, I mean, I know they can be important mistakes, but that's the luck of the draw. Some people make 3 or 4 terrible mistakes and they don't cost you, or they don't appear to cost you. So a couple of poor errors doesn't mean you've necessarily had a particularly poor game. So I'm going to, instead of a 4, I'm going to give Lindelof a 5, which is average. And I don't think that's unfair. I don't think he had a poor game. Okay, he might have done better there for the goal, but I think a 5's fair. Harry Maguire, they've also given a 4 to. Abdicated responsibility at too many crosses and was caught deep on occasion. Earned a penalty that was then overturned, and pathetic against Diagne. He was a bit poor where he got tripped up by Diagne. Whether that would have been given that goal, we'll never know. But again, I won't say overall that Maguire was particularly poor. I would say he was average. I don't think it's unfair to say he had an average game. So I'm going to say 5, and 5 is just average. It's not particularly poor, and obviously it isn't good. So I'm giving Harry Maguire a 5 compared to their 4. Luke Shaw, drawn in field for the opener, but rallied to assist Bruno, and his performance level was good again. They've given him a 7. I feel I feel as though a 7 might be a little bit high. I think a 7 is to say that he had a good game, particularly good game. I'll just about go with it. I will give Luke Shaw a 7, whereas really I was thinking more that he just had a decent game, but I think a 7's okay. He did. Scott McTominay, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on his case over a breakdown in communication with Fred. One little thing in a match, had a shot cleared off the line. Is that it? And they've given him a 6. 6 is decent, and I would agree with that. I would say Scott McTominay had a decent game. Fred, they've said poor on a day that reinforced United needed more creativity from their midfield too against such defensive sides. Creativity. I like to think that a good football team pass the ball quickly, move it quickly, and get lots and lots of passes going. And I don't think we do that well enough from numerous players, not just Fred, but I do think Fred is a culprit for that. They've said he was poor and they've given him a 5. 5's average. I would say that Fred was pretty poor. Some of his passing was horrendous actually on the day, and they've said poor. Poor on my ratings is 4, and I would agree with the 4 rather than the 5. He was poor. When they say creativity, I don't particularly think that you should be aiming at a player actually creating the chances. I like to think of creativity as a team thing, and the team are passing it more, as I was just touching on earlier. But what I would say, and look, you can't just say this about one particular game. I know I always say it doesn't matter who scores. I do say that, it doesn't matter who scores, but it does help if you can weigh in with a few goals over the course of the season. And I'm not going to say it would have been great if he could have scored in this game. Of course, it would have been great if anybody else could have scored in this game. But, McTominay's already got 7 goals this season. It does help if you can score a few goals. And he did have another couple of shots, Fred. And his shooting is just absolutely terrible. It really is poor. And I don't think he scored a single goal last season. I think I'm right in saying that. He's not scored a goal this season. So although I wouldn't say we want more, we do want more creativity from our midfield players, but I don't mean actual assists. I just mean better passing that helps us to create pressure and helps the team to create openings. So we do want better creativity in that respect. But what I would say is we could do with another midfield player getting a few goals. Don't mistake that with me having said so many times it doesn't matter who scores. It doesn't matter who scores in any given game. When you look back on a game, it doesn't matter who scores, but somebody needs to score. So if you've got some players playing in your team who don't score any goals, who are midfield players, then you need them to up that a little bit and start scoring a few goals. It's as simple as that. But I would agree, on the day for Fred, pretty poor, and a 4. Marcus, they've given a 5-2. Treated the right wing like a graveyard shift, and then Solskjaer had to give him pointers, it says. 1 good cross. I remember 2 good crosses. They've given him a 5, which is average, and I would agree with that. I think Marcus had an average game. Bruno Fernandes was having one of his worst games for United until he did something out of nothing with his. They've put shinned in brackets with his shin, the volley. It was a great goal. It was great accurate. He got into space well, and it was pretty acrobatic. It was a good goal, and I do think it went in off his shin pad, but still, it was a cracking finish. I think it's a bit churlish to say that was a mistake. You do need a little bit of luck in football, and he had a little bit of luck. And the 6 is decent. Would I say he had a decent game? I've studied the game really closely. He does quite a lot of poor things, but his work rate's fantastic. He does get involved a hell of a lot. He does need to sharpen up on some things, but I would say 6 is okay. I would say a 6 for Bruno is okay. So Bruno gets a 6, which is just decent. I suppose without his goal, I might have given him a 5 average like anybody else. Anthony Marshall, they've said 3. Now anonymous in a game he was fortunate to start. Here's another one where they're already bringing forward into their argument the fact what they think about what's been going on recently rather than just looking at this game. So anonymous in a game he was fortunate to start, never looked like he remotely fancied it and made way for Mason Greenwood. They've given him a 3. I don't know why they make him much different to Marcus. I don't think there was any difference, and I've absolutely studied it with a fine-tooth comb, the game, and I don't think he does any worse or any better than Marcus, and Marcus doesn't do any worse or any better than Anthony. But it always seems to be that it falls on Anthony's shoulders. So I think a 5, the same as Marcus. There's no difference between them whatsoever, and I'd argue that till I'm blue in the face. And I've studied it closely, and there's no difference between them. Neither played better than the other. So I would agree with a 5 for Marcus, but Anthony a 3. No, I would say a 5 as well. Just average, nothing more than average. I felt sorry for Edison Cavani. Edison, they've actually given a 5 to him. I've actually tried to count the amount of touches of the ball that he gets. I was doing a few things all at the same time, to be honest, but as near as I could get it, I think he had 18 touches of the ball, and a couple of them were poor as well, by the way. 2 or 3 of them were good, and you know, mostly it was just your average stuff where you just receive it and give it back. So I think Edison found out what it was like playing up front for United. They've given him a 5. Could have equalised not long after Dean nodded the ball in, but hit thin air. Went through periods where he never touched the ball. Well, they've spotted there what I've said. Went through periods where he never touched the ball. They've given him a 5. To give him a 5 and to give Anthony a 3 like they have done is absolutely bang out of order. Now, I know Edison's the new lad on the block, if you like, the new kid on the block, and I know he scored some goals, and I know he works hard, puts himself about. I get all that, but he really, really couldn't get in the game at all. I've watched his game closely, and he just cannot get involved. One thing he isn't as good at as Anthony, when he's playing at number 9, is actually coming short for the ball and holding it and then passing it and then moving back into the box. And Anthony actually did that 2 or 3 times in this game, although he was playing on the wing. He should come inside a few times. Edison is not quite as comfortable with his back to goal, tends not to take a touch so often. And I know I've just said you shouldn't really bring other games into it. I'm not bringing these games into it. I'm bringing up things that have happened because he doesn't often take it. I won't say he doesn't often take a touch, but he often plays it first time. It cost us a goal against Liverpool in the cup, playing it first time when he should have held it a touch. Against Everton, one of Everton's goals, he flicked it on when he should have got hold of it. Okay, there was another 6 passes or something before Everton scored. But then in this game, just one incident that I noticed, the ball was fed into his feet on the edge of the D, or just outside the D to the right edge of the box. And it's on the floor, the ball, and yet he flicks it up in the air behind himself as if where Fred was running through, and the ball comes at 4 or 5 feet off the ground, and they just block it. It goes up in the air. I think somebody headed it back to the keeper. But you need a player in that position who's not flicking balls on. The average rate that you'll get something from that, the percentage will be really, really low. When that ball's played into your feet on the edge of the box, you need to take a touch and pass it, or take a touch and try and turn and get a shot, or take a touch, maybe get fouled from behind. But flicking the ball on is rarely going to come to anything. It really isn't. And there was a player there, and this incident I'm talking about, should have just controlled it and passed it. Instead, he flicked it on. So it's something that he isn't quite as good at as Anthony is. And playing at number 9 is an absolutely thankless task for United at the minute. It really is. The wingers and the full-backs, well, Luke Shaw's improved recently, obviously, but Wan-Bissaka and the wingers, they don't get enough quality balls into the box. The midfield players there's just not enough good balls into your feet. Although, as I just said, he did flick one on that he should have held, and there's just nothing happening. And they've got lots of players. They've got masked ranks trying to stop you from getting hold of the ball, and I like the old-fashioned 4-4-2. Me, if you've got two strikers in the box and your wingers can put it in, and it's not all on your shoulders then to try and get that first ball or that second ball or the near post or the far post. And to play a number 9 and two wide attackers, to me, it just isn't the best way of playing, and it really is a tough ask. Having said that it's a tough ask, which it is. Having said that it's a tough ask, I've seen Anthony get marked 3s and 4s at number 9 and play better than that. I really have. So I can't really just say, because he's new, because he scored a few goals recently, that he's worth a 5, because it's as simple as this. I've given Marcus a 5, I've given Anthony a 5, although they've given him a 3. They give Marcus a 5 and Anthony a 3. They've given Edison a 5, and he's nowhere near as much in the game as Marcus and Anthony. Nowhere near as much. It is easier when you're on the wing. I do get that, but he just can't get in the match. And he isn't a 5, I'm afraid. I've got to say that Edison had a pretty poor game, and I'm giving him a 4. No substitutes were used at half time. I only mark the substitutes if they get half a game. What have they said? They've said Mason Greenwood did more in 4 minutes. Mason got longer than that. What are they talking about? Did more in 4 minutes than Marshall did in an hour. They've said. I don't see that. And Donny van der Beek 6 offered some thrust. Oh no, they give Mason a 6, sorry, and they give Donny van der Beek a 5. Anyway, it's just I just don't get that. Mason just did very similar when he came on. He did flash one great ball across the box. At the same time, when Anthony Marshall was on, he put Luke Shaw through into a great position that we could have got a goal from. There's different ways of playing, and there's different important bits of the game. So no, I don't agree with that. I haven't marked Mason. As I said, he only got half an hour, but he did do okay when he come on. He probably, if I had to mark him, I'd probably say like Marcus and like Anthony, he was probably worth a 5. So that's that. I'm going to do a player in focus for this game. I will do a player in focus for Edison Cavani. I will put Anthony Marshall in it. I will put Bruno in it. Marcus actually won the last one and was actually the player in focus last time. So I will not include him. I'll tell you what, I'll include Fred. That's what I'll do. So I'm going to do a player in focus, and I'll do the player in focus tomorrow. So the voting will go up on Twitter later today. So the 4 players on the player in focus will be Edison Cavani, Anthony Marshall, Bruno Fernandes and Fred. That will be the 4 players. I'll speak again later in the week. We'll find out who's gone to the game's being played in Turin, isn't it? We're playing Real Sociedad in the next round. It's the last 32 this round of the Europa League. It's the first knockout round. Something to do with the COVID situation in Spain, or in northern Spain at least, San Sebastian. They're not allowed to play there, or we're not allowed to travel there. I don't know exactly why, but it's something to do with COVID. And the game is being played in Turin. So United will be in Turin on Thursday night to play Real Sociedad. Won't be an easy game. They're 5th in La Liga, I think, at the minute, and they were doing really well not long ago, but I think it'll be a tough game. But I'll speak about that a bit more as that gets closer. So I'll be back tomorrow with a player in focus when we find out sort of overnight really who the player in focus should be. As I say, the voting will be up on RicktheredUK on Twitter later today. If you've enjoyed that show, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.